Hi everyone, Scott Weaver with Factory Direct Designers Workroom. So in front of you right now is a shirred swag. It's a little different from the pleated swag. And a pair of stacked jabos. Notice they don't pleat out like they normally do. It's one on top of the other on the folds. That's what they call a stacked pair of jabos. So I want you guys to stick around. I'm going to show you exactly how to make this. Show you how to make the pattern, cut the pattern, sew it, the whole bit. So be right back. Hi everyone, Scott Weaver with Factory Direct Designers Workroom. Well, as promised, today we're going to be working on a shirred swag. Some people call it a gathered swag. So to begin with this is what your pattern is going to look like. And it's a very simple pattern to make and a couple of principles behind it. For one, it looks like I have it upside down. You would think that this would be the bottom because it's curved, but that's actually incorrect. It actually goes like this, and this is actually the top of your swag. Secondly, the way I come out with the size is I actually start it as almost a rod pocket. And yes, this can be turned into a rod pocket swag if you would like it to be. So what I did here is I cut this oval shape, and then using scrap fabric, I just used a couple of pieces of scrap fabric, I sewed a pocket in here, just to get my pattern, and we'll go over the sizes and everything. And then I take my ruler, which has all the inches and whatever, and I put it on so I can show you exactly what this is going to look like. This will just make it so you can get a little sense of what's going on. You can do this at home too, if you like, although I'm going to give you the exact measurements. But it may help you, and also it'll give you of multiple different sizes. And that's the great thing about doing this. And we are going to turn this into a shirred, but for now it's basically a rod pocket. I just didn't finish anything off. So what I do is I clamp here, and this is supposed to be a 40 wide by 16 inch drop. And luckily, because this is a tape measure on here, I can bring it right to the 40 inch mark, put a clamp, kind of give it a quick shirr. And roughly, this is what this would look like. I can play with these pleats and actually make them into pleats. If I want to sit here and do so, but I don't want to waste your time. Anyhow, that's basically what that would look like. And that is a 40 wide by 16 inch drop. Now while I have it here, what I usually do is I say, okay, so it's a 40, what else can I do with it? Well, if I gather it even closer, here's a 30 inch wide. But as you're going to see, what's going to happen is the drop is going to be deeper because I pulled it in. And likewise, if I wanted to make it wider, say 45 inches, you can notice that the shirring gets a little skimpier here, but also it gets much smaller. Okay, so it's doing it this way by making up some scrap and sewing a little rod pocket and putting it on a, even if you had just a little wood pole or something, shirt on, you can get all the options that you like to do it with. So just, that's that. Now let's get to making the actual swag. What I did is I actually cut a piece of material. This is the piece of material I cut. It is a full width, but basically you need about 54 inches in width to make this swag, which is a 40 wide by 16. And so let's see what we measured this at. This is 40 inches long. So to begin with, you're going to cut a full width, which is about 54 inches wide by a 40-inch long piece. Then you're going to take that and you're going to fold it in half. Now, the exact, I'm going to bring this back into play here for a second. The exact drop is 35 inches from the very bottom to the top of the swag. So we're going to take our tape measure and the pencil that I just dropped down the floor. And we're going to put a mark at 35 inches. But there's a reason why I cut this a little longer, so I can show you something else, not to confuse you, but just to better educate you. Another thing that you can do with this, if you want it wider or deeper, you can then take the pattern like this, and you can see there's extra on here because this is extra wider fabric. So even though this comes up to 40, if you wanted to, you could come up higher and come out bigger. And that'll expand your pattern. But you don't even have to do it that way. You can actually do it like this. Bring this right to the edge. Now by doing that, I just picked up another 2.5 inches, but it's folded in half, so it's an extra 5 inches in width. Coming up here, I've got an extra 5 inches here. So then what I would do is I would just basically come up here, and I would start my angle here, and then slowly taper it back down into here. And that's going to change the width and the drop, if you would like. So it is a very flexible pattern. Anyhow, we're going to go back. I'm going to pull this off the table here for a second. I'll show you how I do it. Now, okay, so we know from here to here we've got 35 inches. Now let's measure the width of it. The actual width, I believe, is right around 54 inches. So then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to mark this 27 inches. Like so. And since you don't have a pattern in front of you, this is how you're going to have to do it. Then what I like to use is, this is actually chain weight, and chain weight is a covered lead that you normally put in like a shear. That's what it looks like. But you can use any type of a rope or what have you. And what you're going to do is you're going to come up to here, and all you're going to do is create a curve. And it's going to look something like that. It's basically an oval. Now say you don't have it exactly like that, you come a little wider, or if you come in a little narrower, it's not going to make a huge difference. It really isn't. And you're going to test you can test your pattern at any time. But anyway, you're just going to come over just like this. This is how I get mine. Okay, once you have it, then you're going to go ahead and you're going to mark it. Once you mark it, you're just going to cut it. Then we're going to open it up. There's your pattern. That's pretty easy, huh? Like I say, I can't tell you exactly what it is, but it really is not going to matter. Okay, now if you want to, you can bring it over to your machine, which I'm going to show you how to sure it. But basically what you're going to do, we're going to put it, and we're going to gather it onto the machine. I'm not going to do it on this particular one, because I already know that this is going to come out very close to what I want it to do. Now, another point that we're going to do here is I'm going to put a couple of little notches. We want this to come out 40 inches. So I'm going to put a little notch, and not too heavy of a notch, because don't forget this is actually the fabric you're using right here. That means that this has to come, when we're suring it, to 20 inches. From here to here, because it's half the pattern. Now from there, I'm going to fold it again. I'm going to put another little notch. Just like that. What does that tell me? That tells me that's going to be about halfway point, and that from here to here I need 10 inches. From here to here I need 10 inches. From here to here I need 10 inches, and then another 10 inches. So those are just going to keep me in check, that I don't sure this whole thing up and look at it and say it's come out 35 inches and I got to rip the whole thing out. So just keep that in mind. That's how we're going to do it. Next thing, we're going to add the lining to this. And then we're going to sew across the bottom. And then we're going to press the bottom. Now my lining is cut about the same as what my material was cut. And let me put this on. I'm going to pin across the bottom. And take some pins, we're going to pin it in place. And we are not going to cut this out. We're going to leave this piece square. And this piece, as you can tell, is a little longer. It is the 54 inches in width. And I believe this is about, 39 inches. So it's about 4 inches, just to give it a little extra. And the reason why we're not going to cut this whole thing out is because we're going to put a little facing or a little lip of the red on the back side so it doesn't do a little peekaboo when it's hanging. So here we are. Now I'm going to take it over to this machine. I'm going to sew it a 1/2 inch across right here, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I sewed across the bottom, which is the straight portion right here. And now I'm going to remove my pins. And I'm going to flip it. So I see the lining. And when I press the lining, I'm just going to leave like about 1/8 of an inch reveal of the red on the back, so the lining and the face fabric aren't even with each other. Something I like to do just so you don't see a peekaboo of the lining. And with a nice hot iron, I'm going to press that in. While I'm here, I might as well just give the whole thing a little bit of a press. Remove my pressing board. And we're going to stick some pins in it. Hold the lining in place. Go ahead and now we can trim the lining off. Okay, now we're going to take it back over the machine. And all I'm going to do is sew a 1/4 inch stitch all the way around here just to hold the lining on. And then we'll be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and you can see I did this in a dark thread so you can see it. But I sewed this down a 1/4 inch just to hold the lining in. Now it's time to actually shirr it. And the way I do it, well, I shouldn't say this. The way the girls do it, because they're so much better. We've got 2 full-time girls who do all our specialty sewing. And so anyway, the way we do it is we put a little, actually it's more of a side shirring. We like to do it to the side, and we like very large ruffle, per se. So it's going to kind of look like this, and you're going to put it underneath your machine. You're going to pretty much put it right on the stitch that you already have. And that should be about 3/8, between 1/4 and 3/8 of an inch, because then we're going to put what's called a tacking strip on it to hold everything in there, but it also covers and hides the stitching, which I'll explain to you in a minute. Anyhow, so we're going to go ahead and start stitching this down. And then as we're here, we're going to make another pleat right here and tuck it in. Another one. And we're going to keep doing this until we get to that first notch, because we don't know where we're going to end up. Okay, now we're at that first notch. And it's supposed to be around 10 inches. Let's see what we have. We are at 9 inches. So that means I have to make it up now. I have to have a good 11 inches when I come to the next notch. So that means my space has to be just a little wider. And this is the last one. I'm right at the center notch. Now let's see where we're at. I'm at 19 inches. That means I still have to make up a little bit more on it as I'm going around to come out to 40 inches, because 19 times 2 is 38. What's going to happen is, if it doesn't come out right, you just have to rip out a little bit and, expand it a little. That's about the worst that's ever going to really happen. Okay, let's see what we have. "41 inches, so that's not too bad. 41 inches. Okay. Next part of it, I'm going to show you how to what type of size tacking strip that we got to put on this thing, and we'll wrap this up. I went ahead and I put a couple of extra tucks just to get it to the 40-inch mark. Then I cut another piece of fabric by the full width, which is 54 inches. And I cut it 4 inches this way, so it's a 4-inch by 54-inch cut. So it's 4 inches wide, I should say. And let's see, this looks like the face fabric side. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this back a little bit farther to the 1/2 inch mark, so I make sure that I'm covering this stitch that I've already put on it. And this is my face of the fabric. I'm putting it face down onto my swag. And I'm keeping it even. And I'm going to sew this on. This is what's called a tacking strip. And that's what's, when you're mounting it to the board, this is what you would staple onto. And I'll show you that in a few minutes. at that. We made it all the way through. Now we're going to take this over. We're going to press this down. Now we're going to show you how to mount it. The tacking strip we put on, I just cut away the extra. I'm leaving like an inch, inch and a half on each side. So when we staple this onto the board, we actually bend this up to give it a clean finish. So what you're going to do is just take your iron and you just want to press this down so when you staple it onto the board, it actually looks like it belongs. Which it does, of course, but it gives you a little facing on top of your board, and you can staple along here opposed to stapling right up on here if you've got real thick fabric. And of course, you want to repeat this process for however many swags that you are making. So there we have it pressed. Okay, so if you were mounting this on a regular board, you'd be taking your stapler and you'd be go ahead and stapling this down like so, bending in where we left this raw, bending it in, stapling it, which instead I'm going to be putting push pins in because there's really no need for me to actually mount this. And then once you have this done, then you'd be taking the other raw edge and you'd be bringing it in here like that. And then again, you'd be taking your stapler and you'd be going ahead and stapling it so you have a clean finish all the way across here. But for now, I'm just going to push pin this in so you get the idea of how this would go. And then you would have your jabos. Whether you want them over the swag or under the swag, that would be up to you. So pretty much this is how it's going to be. Now my next video, since we're covering these type of swags, we're going to turn it into a rod pocket swag. So basically it's the same pattern, but I'm going to show you how to, a little different technique with the linings and everything, but very easy to do. So we're going to show you how to do it, and it'll probably be about the same time, maybe even a little faster, because it's a rod pocket, and we can also put a little heading on there, like an 1.5 inch heading. Anyhow, and then what you'd want to do here is you can actually take this and form the pleats like so. So you wouldn't just, and you'd have to do it with the lining, but you really need to have it hanging to be able to form these pleats like I had on the one that was up on the wall. But anyway, that's what a shirt swag would be like. You see we're having problems with this thing focusing. I don't know why it does that. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed it. You want to send me a couple pics of your own, that would be great too. And anyway, Scott Weaver from Factory Direct Designers Workroom. Have a good day, afternoon, evening, or whatever. Thanks.